Hi, third graders. Welcome back to another Richmond Math lesson. I'm Mrs. Yeager. Today we're doing Grade 3, Unit 8, Lesson 6. I can read the temperature on a thermometer. But first, I'm going to trick you a little bit today. I want to give a shout out to all of my mathematician poets. Mrs. Manley gave you an assignment to do on Flipgrid, and I so enjoyed reading all of the poems. So I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone who wrote one of those math poems. So the first one is Morgan, who wrote 3 math poems, and Peter, and Brooke, and Axel, and Ellie, and Esme, and Wyatt, and Benjamin, and Jacayla, and Ari, and Allie, and Faith. Thank you so much. I enjoyed those poems so much. Now, before the lesson, let's have our joke. What animal is always at a baseball game? Give up? A bat. Oh, and there he goes flying off. All right, the materials you're going to need for today's lesson are a paper and pencil. So if you need to pause me for a moment to get ready, go ahead. Let's get started. Our learning target today says, I can read the temperature on a thermometer. And what a fun time to be talking about temperature, because one day it's hot and one day it's cold. One day I'm wearing short sleeves and the next day I have sweaters on. So let's talk about the temperature. What is temperature? Temperature is a measurement of how hot or cold something is. It is measured with a thermometer. Look at all of these different kinds of thermometers that you can have. The first two I see are body thermometers. And I know now lots of people are checking out body thermometers. And they come, some you can just put on your head, some you put in your mouth. Another kind of thermometer are these, my outdoor thermometers. Some are round and some are straight. Another kind is the oven thermometer, to make sure that your oven is the right temperature when you go to cook something. Or you could have one of these 2 cooking thermometers. And I see these are both digital. And then finally, there are 2 different kinds of refrigerator thermometers, probably more than that. And then afterwards, I was thinking, my car even has a thermometer. They call it a thermostat, to keep the temperature of my engine doesn't get too hot. So now, let's look at this thermometer. And what do you notice about it? Well, the first thing I notice are the F and C. The F stands for Fahrenheit. And in the United States, most of the time when we're giving temperatures, we're talking about Fahrenheit. The C stands for Celsius, and that's the metric system using for temperature. So temperature is measured in degrees. You know how when we're measuring our fingers, we would measure length, but now I'm measuring degrees. And the way I write degrees is with that little circle, because I don't want to always have to write out the word degree. So what is temperature? What is the temperature? So on here, I see that it is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Can you see how the red goes right up to that line for 50? Or I could say it is 10 degrees Celsius because it goes right up to that line and it's at 10 on the Celsius side. And the question is, would 50 degrees Fahrenheit feel the same as 10 degrees Celsius? Whisper out loud, whisper to somebody at your house, what do you think? Yes, they would feel the same. I'm just using a different unit to measure this with. So the next thing I have to look at on thermometers is the increments. And what do I mean by increments? Well, look at the lines. It's kind of like when I'm reading a graph and I have to check the key to see whether it's worth 1 or whether it's worth 2 or 5 or whatever. So let's look at the increments here. And you should have a worksheet that looks like this. And so when I'm counting here and I want to go from 0 to 10, I need to see how many lines there are in between. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the increments on this side are increments of 1. But let's look at the other side because it looks a little different. I start at 0 and I want to get to 10. And if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I only counted to 5, but I'm at 10. So let's try counting by twos. Ready? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, so this one has increments of 2 on it. So now, whether you have the printout or if you're just looking at your computer, either color to where 16 degrees would be, or just point on mine. We're on the one on the left. Which one would show 16 degrees? Okay, this is where I would put it, right to there, 16 degrees, because I'm counting by ones. How would it look like on the thermometer on the right? Where would I put 16 degrees if I was coloring it in? That's where I would put it, right? So they look the same height, but the increments are different. Okay, beautiful. Look at this. These, when I'm looking down at the bottom, these are both Celsius. They're Celsius and they're Celsius. But I need to see the increments. I like to start at 0. So I'm going to find the 0 over here, and I'm going to count to 10. So let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that didn't work. So let me try counting by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So on this circular thermometer, I'm counting the increments by 2. Well, let's go over here and let's try counting by twos over here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oops, nope. So let's try counting by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this one, I'm counting by ones. The increments are ones. And this one, the increments are by 2. Okay. So when I'm also, one thing I want to notice about thermometers, especially when I'm using those long skinny ones, is that if it's very cold and you see over here that I'm in a cup of ice, look what the thermometer is. It's way down low. And over here, I can see the flame. I know this is boiling water, and I see it's up high. Okay, so that's one way. Even if I can't see the numbers, I can see whether it is a cold temperature or a warm temperature by how high, whether it's blue or red in the middle is. Okay, so now let's look at these two. I have got two thermometers. They are in Fahrenheit. And I see the first one on the left here shows 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And this one shows 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's start with this one. Would this be cold or hot? Say it out loud. It would be cold, you're right, because it's a lower, smaller temperature. Let's look at this one on the right. Is 80 degrees going to be cold or hot? Hot. Very good. Okay. How about in Celsius? Let's read this in Celsius. Is the one on the right, I'm seeing it says 50 degrees, and over here it says 0 degrees. These are in Celsius. So would 50 degrees be hot or cold? Say it out loud. It would be hot. How about this one? Is that going to be hot or cold? Cold. Very good. Because I can just look at that middle line and see whether it's hot or cold. So let's go over what we've learned today. We've learned that temperature is a measurement of how hot or cold something is. I've also learned that temperature is measured with a thermometer, and temperature is measured in degrees. The symbol for degrees is that little circle. Two common temperature scales are the Celsius scale and the Fahrenheit scale. And to read a thermometer, I look at the increments. So here's our exit ticket for today. What temperature is shown on this thermometer in Celsius? So I'm looking and I'm going to count. I see that I'm counting by twos because I go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Then I'm going up to 20 and say 22, 24, 26, 28. So I would say that the temperature is 28 degrees Celsius. Now, is this temperature warm or is it cold? And how do you know? It would be warm, actually probably close to hot. And how do I know? Because the center line is so high. Okay, you could write that out. Let's look at the second question on the exit ticket. What temperature is shown on this thermometer in degrees Fahrenheit? Degrees Fahrenheit. So take a second and look. And it would be 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And would that temperature be warm or cold? And how do you know? It would be cold or cool. And how do I know? Because the line is much smaller, shorter. Okay, our learning target today was I can read the temperature on a thermometer. How do you feel you did? Okay, for extra credit to this week, it would be fun to keep a record of the week's temperatures to see is it going up or down. And if you want to, you can try to record it on one of the thermometers. Well, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.